Hello and welcome to the session let's chat about course options on languages and literatures. So this session is about listening to some of our current students about their experiences, and then there's time afterwards to put forward your questions for them individually or as a group. The students on this session will be talking about their own experiences and perceptions of their course. They will not be representing the views of all students nor the course itself. And remember that everyone's experiences will be different. So the purpose of this session is to give you further information to help you choose your outside or optional course. It is important to make this decision this week so that you can confirm it with your school to start your courses next week. If you haven't already, you should go to the Course Options Hub, which is this web link here, and I'll put it in the chat after I've spoken. Because this is where you'll find all of the course options information on PATH and DRPS and be able to work out how it fits with your timetable using the Course Timetable Browser tool. You should aim to have at least 3 different choices so that when you do speak to your school this week, you have more options in case the courses are full or they don't fit within your programme. We also, as part of the Course Options Hub, have over 80 5-minute videos from lots of different academics from across all subject areas who are introducing you to their course. And these are really, really valuable short videos that give you insight into who's teaching you and also what the course is about. Some academics have also offered to hold virtual Q&A sessions or office hours this week where you'll be able to meet with them and speak to them about any information about that course. To find them, you need to go onto the Events app and search under the Course Options Hub menu and find any event that starts with Chat to an Academic. And there are plenty of academics within the schools of languages, literatures and cultures who are offering some of these times this week. So please do check in if you have questions about languages specifically. And after you've explored the website and you've watched some of the videos and you've heard from our students this week in some of these sessions, it's about actually confirming your choices with your school or programme. The deadline to choose your outside optional courses is the end of week 2, which is the 2nd of October. Unfortunately, we cannot give you any further advice about how to confirm your choices because every single school does it differently. And you should have received information from your school already about how to do this. You might be receiving it in your school induction activity this week or by email or on any of your resources in your school. If you have not got this information, you need to ask your school immediately because you need to sort this week. So this session, while it's about literatures and languages, will not cover all the courses available under this subject grouping, but hopefully our panel today represents some of the courses you might be interested in, or you might even find out something about a course you haven't even considered yet. If there are other courses that you're interested in that are not mentioned today, you'll be able to find information on PATH or within the academic video section of the Course Options Hub. But that is enough of me speaking. I'm delighted now to hand over to our current students to speak about their experiences of their courses. We have Emma, Jasmine and Dory today. After they have all spoken, we will open up the chat area for questions. Please do not raise your hand or type in any questions while they're speaking. We'll just wait until the end. So thank you very much, and over to you, Emma.
Hi, can people hear me? Is my audio working okay? Wonderful, great. So, hi everyone, I'm Emma, I'm 20 years old and I'm a 3rd year international relations student. I'm originally from a place called Hounslow in West London, which is near Heathrow Airport. I started at Edinburgh in 2018, right off the back of finishing my A-levels in history, French, and government and politics. Outside of my studies, I work part-time for the university as a student ambassador, giving tours of campus to prospective students and helping out on open days. I also work part-time for the Students' Association as part of their technical and production crew, doing sound and lighting for live events such as Ceilidhs and club nights. I'm involved in lots of societies as well. I'm the technical manager of the Edinburgh University Theatre Company and the Edinburgh Review, technical advisor to the Savoy Opera Group, who do musical theatre, not opera, and in the past I've done lighting for the Footlights. Finally, I'm also an officer cadet with the City of Edinburgh University's Officer Training Corps, which is part of the British Army Reserve. So there's a couple of different reasons why I chose Edinburgh. Firstly, and probably most importantly, I really liked the flexibility that my degree programme gave me. I'd played around with the idea of studying an assortment of different subjects as my main degree at open days, like history, French, and Middle Eastern studies, before settling on IR. So being able to spend a sizable chunk of my first 2 years continuing to study broadly suited me really well. Secondly, I like the idea of not having all that many direct contact hours. I've not always been a great independent learner, but it's a skill I've tried to improve a lot since coming to uni. I like being able to get my working day, so to speak, done early in the day, and then having the late afternoon and evening to myself to socialise with friends or take part in societies. Edinburgh is also just a really lovely place to live. Having grown up in West London, I'm really used to that city environment, and the idea of going to a campus university in the middle of a field was really, really scary. That being said, my second year flatmate was from the tiniest village in West Lancashire, and she found Edinburgh also wasn't so large as to be intimidating. Finally, and perhaps the most niche reason why I chose Edinburgh was because of the student theatre opportunities it presented. As Edinburgh is the home of the Fringe Festival, I was excited to get involved in student theatre and learn skills outside of my courses. Although I turned up to uni convinced I was going to be a musical theatre actor, I've since found my niche in technical theatre and lighting design, and the facilities at Edinburgh have been a really great learning opportunity. So moving on to outside courses I've taken in the School of Literatures, Languages and Cultures, as you can see, I've taken a fair few. Although my degree actually falls within the School of Social and Political Sciences, in my first year I actually took more courses from Literatures, Languages and Cultures than I did from the School of Political Science. In my first year, I took a beginner's German language course, modern Middle Eastern history course, and a modern Chinese history course. I also actually applied to take the continuation of modern Middle Eastern history B, which covers the post-1942 period, but it's a super popular course, and so sadly I didn't get a space on that. In my second year then, I took a one-semester beginner's Arabic course, which is definitely the most challenging course I've done at university so far. But once I'd got my head around it in the first few lessons, I actually found it really fulfilling and intellectually interesting. I'm a big, big advocate of using outside courses to pick up or continue a language. Especially given I don't study a language as my main degree, there's something really nice and refreshing about spending a few hours a week in a small class made up of people from all across the university and learning something in a very different way to how most of my politics courses are taught. It's also weirdly refreshing to do textbook homework tasks as a change from reading chapters upon chapters of textbooks. Looking forward to my third year, there aren't as many opportunities for me to take language courses as part of my degree now, so I'm very glad I took advantage of that in my first 2 years of uni to learn new languages. Looking at the two history courses, there's quite a deliberate reason I chose to continue my history studies out with the School of History itself. In my experience, neither of the two courses that I took, so Modern Middle Eastern History or Modern East Asian History, came with all the source analysis trappings that I'd studied at A-level, and instead they were sort of more of a broad interdisciplinary approach to a country or region over time. I was also able to take these courses without having to do any compulsory courses from the School of History beforehand, which was a plus for me because I didn't like source analysis at A-level. I don't think I was going to enjoy it at uni. To sort of go into a little bit more detail about some of these courses, if they're things you're considering studying, Foundation German 1 was a really nice, easy introduction to a language I'd never studied before. It was pitched really nicely for beginners and paced well, but that being said, it was taught in 2-hour tutorials a week when I took it, which was a bit of a killer for someone with quite a short attention span. Modern Middle Eastern History A was possibly my favourite course I've done at university so far. The lectures were really interesting, and because the tutorials were a mix of people from different degree programmes, the conversation was super varied. Modern East Asian History B was also pretty interesting, and I enjoyed the content, but the tutorials were quite hard work for me because I hadn't done the A course the semester before. Even though the two courses cover different content, it was the sort of the teaching skills, the teaching style and tutorial skills were quite different from what I'd experienced before, and so it took me a while to get used to it. Introduction to Arabic was really hard work. It took a lot of outside of the classroom time for me to figure out what was happening. And there were tutorials in the very early days where I just felt like I was drowning in new information. That being said, I found that when it clicked properly and it was really satisfying. A couple of tips for taking outside courses specifically in the School of Literatures, Languages and Cultures then. Firstly, I'd say definitely explore all your options when you're picking your outside courses, including subject areas you might not have considered before. Before I'd properly done my research, I'd assumed that all the courses in Asian studies would be languages modules, but I ended up really enjoying that Chinese history module as I'd never studied China before. So after some research, I was glad that I'd found it. Secondly, if you're wanting to do an outside language, be prepared to put in the work, especially if it involves learning a new script like Russian or Arabic. As I said, my first 3 weeks of that Arabic course were so difficult because I know I was doing what I needed to do to pass the course, but it just wasn't clicking. So I just didn't really know what was going on when it started getting more difficult. And that was quite stressful for a while. Ultimately, I gave myself a firm talking to, spent a weekend absolutely drilling the alphabet and the vocab we'd done so far, and I felt so much better walking into the next tutorial. So hopefully that's helpful to provide an out of main school perspective on taking an outside language. I'm a big advocate of it, and I'd welcome any questions about it afterwards. Next up is over to Jasmine.
Yeah, so hi guys, I'm Jasmine. Do I have to do the slides myself? I think so. Yeah, okay. So a bit about me. So yeah, I'm Jasmine. I come from a really small seaside town called Torquay in Devon. Lots of people don't know where that is, so I put a little map up. It's quite far down. I'm 20 and I'm on my year abroad in third year studying German and linguistics. I'm actually on my 6th day at the German uni right now. It's quite exciting. I'm the same as Emma. I left school in 2018 and went straight to Edinburgh Uni. I actually went to 14 open days. And Edinburgh was the last, and it just kind of felt right. I'd never been to Scotland before that, and yeah, so don't worry if you don't know what to do with the courses and stuff, because you will find out. Yeah, so my interests. I love nature and being outdoors. I sail and walk quite a lot at home, so I was part of the Sailing Society and the Hill Walking Society in my first 2 years. And I love doing day trips. So like the top picture is the Botanic Gardens, and the second picture is a place called North Berwick, which you can get on the train from Edinburgh with beautiful like this. I also love languages. So I last year was part of the Babel language magazine, which I was German editor for. So you can kind of submit creative writing entries for the languages, and I was a degree representative for German. So if we didn't like something about the course, I'd go and talk to the academics. And then this summer, I've also got funding from the university to do my TEFL qualification. So I kind of teach English as a foreign language online to school kids. I also love like music and creativity. So I've been part of the Female Voice Choir, the Photography Society, and the student newspaper. And like Emma, I also have 2 part-time jobs. So I'm an ambassador as well. I'm doing stuff like this and giving tours, and a student caller for the university. So I ring up alumni and get them to kind of donate money for scholarships. And I also enjoy volunteering. I quite enjoy being a buddy and a peer mentor to like other students on my degree. So why did I choose Edinburgh? So the location to the sea and the Highlands for sailing and walking was really important to me, and I loved how green, historic and beautiful it was. And again, same as Emma, like it was really important to have those 3 subjects in the first 2 years for me. And I could do languages from beginner with linguistics. So I was actually in German beginners, and I'm now doing it as a joint honours degree with linguistics. And the rankings for the subject, so I think when I joined, Edinburgh was like top in the UK for linguistics and like 20th in the world and stuff, and that was quite important to me. And also the city like has so many facilities like the National Library and museums, and I was able to fly home to Bristol quite easily, but also had that space away from home and stuff. And yeah, there's so many festivals and so much like buzz in the city that I really loved as well. Okay, so the important thing, a bit about my courses. So I study German, but I don't actually have German A-level. I did it to GCSE level and a bit of first year A-level, but then did A-levels in Latin, history and English. So I was in German 1A, which is like the one above what Emma was talking about. So we had like seminars nearly every day of the week, and it was like a really intense language course. And then in second year, you join the group who had German A-level. So I wasn't a beginner, but they teach everything from scratch. It was quite intense, but it was a great refresh for the grammar. And we had people in there as well who'd never done German. And by the end, we were like all the same level. I also love the sense of community in German because we don't have massive lectures, or at least I didn't in my experience. The seminars were like 20 people with 1 teacher 4 times a week. So you really got to know people, and doing the language magazine, or they have a German play, you really get to know the other people in other years studying German and stuff. And there's also loads of variety. Like in my second year, we did literature courses, and there's so much stuff that you can take from what you're interested in. And the progress, like I started the beginners course like really worried I would never get good at German and stuff. But then I think I've learned more German in 2 years of uni than I did at like 7 years of school. And now I can hold a decent conversation here with my flatmates who don't speak English, which is really good. And then I also study linguistics, which isn't part of LLC, so I won't talk too much about that, but I love the variety in that course. So every kind of 3 weeks, we change topic and we change lecturer. And you kind of get to know what you really enjoy or don't enjoy, but we do have bigger lectures. So it is sometimes harder to find a sense of community, but the Linguistics Society is really good. And in the first 2 years, linguistics and English language are taught together, which I've really enjoyed because I prefer the kind of English language side of linguistics more than the really scientific side. I also did some my outside modules. In my first semester, my first year, I did a history module. And it was then I realized I didn't want to do history, it was languages, but it was really good to be able to try that and realize, oh, actually, this is what I enjoy. So then in my second semester, I wanted to do Italian, but it was full. And the only language course that wasn't full was Gaelic language and culture. And I had never considered doing Gaelic, but I actually really enjoyed it. A bit like Emma with Arabic, like the spelling was horrendous in the first few weeks. I was like, I can't do this. And then I did better in the exam in German than German at the end of the year. And I learned so much about like Scottish culture and history about the country I was actually living in. So keep all of your options open. And then this year I did an amazing course as my elective called Languages Beyond University. So if you're a language student, you can take this one. I don't know if it runs every year and it might have changed, but what I was able to do was go into a Scottish secondary school and teach 13-year-olds for 1 hour a week, like German, and not German grammar, but more like about my year abroad and German culture and stuff. And that was like so nice to get out of the university and just do a slightly different course. I mean, I still had to write essays, but they were more like reflections about what I'd learned and stuff, and the teachers giving comments and things. And then about the year abroad. So I'm currently in Tübingen in southwest Germany for my year abroad. It wasn't going to go ahead, and then it all of a sudden did. But there's loads of flexibility with the year abroad. So we have loads of exchange places currently with like Hamburg and Vienna and Berlin and smaller places like Tübingen as well. And you can work for a whole year normally, or you can teach with the British Council for a whole year, or you can do what I'm doing, say at a university in Germany for a whole year. But you could also do like a semester of uni and a semester of work, and you don't have to be studying a language to do a year abroad. It is compulsory for language students, but like someone like Emma doing international relations could also do a year abroad if they got good grades in first year and applied for it and stuff. And then, yeah, just finishing up then, kind of tips about if you're interested in similar courses. Do think about your electives quite soon because they can get quite popular, and going on your course programs. If you just like search like MA German and Linguistics, Edinburgh Uni, then you can go on a course program like what will I study, and it goes through what options you have within your degree and kind of what electives you're able to take. So for me with German, I wasn't able to take the foundation language courses because German was part of my degree, but I was able to take that Gaelic introductory course. And have a look at path for your timetable, but I think there's more information on that in the welcome packs normally. And I was part of a pilot scheme called UniBuddy, which I think is going to be running again soon. So you can like message students at the university, but I think that's more for if you haven't already applied. Don't worry, try and find out where your personal tutor is, who is a member of the department who will support you, and where your student support like offices are. Make the most of every opportunity, but also balance and have a rest. And some of my closest friends at uni I actually made quite towards the end of first year. So like, don't rush trying to make friends and things because it will happen. And, you know, I know some people who are really close to people they met in the first week, but for me it was more second semester I got to know people more. So yeah, and now over to Dory, I think. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me okay. So my name is Dori and I'm from Hungary. I've just started my second year studying Italian and history. So just a little bit about me. So last year I was involved in the Hungarian Society, History Society, and also the Italian Society. And this year I'm on the committee of the Italian Society as well. And last year I was the course representative for first year Italian students. free time, I really like singing, horse riding, and also going to the gym. So just a few reasons why I chose Edinburgh. So there are very few universities around the UK that actually offer the subject combination I wanted to study. So that was one of the reasons I chose Edinburgh. I really like the 4-year long program, and that the year abroad is integrated into this 4-year program. The size of the city and the location is very ideal for me, as I come from a village in Hungary. So I knew that a big city like London would have been too much for me to get used to. I also really like that Edinburgh is a mixture of the very busy touristy city center, but also has lots of green spaces, like for example the Meadows, which is right next to the central campus, and my favorite place is Holbrook Park. I also find that there are really good study spaces at campus. My favorite is Teviot. And in my experience, the academic staff is very nice and approachable. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask your personal tutor or the course organizers, and I'm sure they will be more than happy to help you. And I also really like how there are lots of societies, activities, and events offered by the university. So I think every student can find something that they enjoy. So first of all, I'd like to talk about the course Italian 1A. So this course was compulsory for me as I study Italian. And it was a really good introduction to Italian culture as well, because we learned about topics like cinema, theater, opera, and history, mainly the Italian Renaissance. And it's both for those who are beginners in Italian, but also those who are, for example, intermediate or advanced. So I studied Italian in secondary school. So I was in the group last year. I believe there were only 2 groups, one for beginners and intermediates and one for advanced students. So the cultural studies part of the course is obviously in English in first year, and also it's there were 2 one lectures a week and also a seminar every now and then when we got to the end of a bigger topic. For me, I guess on this course, particularly in the English tutorials, it was a bit difficult to get used to using English as my first language when learning Italian. So that was something I had never done before. So that might be a bit difficult for those whose first language is not English to get used to teachers explaining certain grammar rules in English to you. But I think it was kind of fun, and also you can get used to it in a couple of weeks. I think that's at least my experience. And also I find the Italian teachers and tutors very nice and very approachable. So if you've got any questions, they are more than happy to help. And the next course I'd like to talk about is Islamic History B. So this usually runs in the 2nd semester, and this course covers the period from the Crusades to the Gunpowder Empire, so until the middle of the 17th century. I really enjoyed learning all about society, religion, culture, populations in the Islamic world. So this was something that was only covered in a nutshell in secondary school. So it was really good to kind of like learn about it a bit more in detail. And I particularly liked about this course how it covered the Muslim perspective of the Crusades, which is, I think, very rarely considered. What was a challenge for me on this course, or was a bit difficult for me to learn names, because they are very, very different compared to what we might be used to in Europe or in the UK. I would say that Islamic History A, which runs in first semester, can be useful to take before taking Islamic History B. I did not take Islamic History A. It's completely fine. So it's not a prerequisite. It can be useful if you want to find out more about the beginnings of Islam. But I think you can easily do Islamic History B without having done Islamic History A. So just to sum up, a couple of tips for you when you're choosing your outside courses. I think with outside courses, it's really important that you choose something that you're really interested in and that you would really enjoy. So I'd say don't choose something just because you think it would be useful for your future academic or professional. So I was going to choose economics in my first year, but then I dropped it very quickly because I realized that I wouldn't have enjoyed it. And also I would recommend familiarizing yourself with the course structure and the content, so you know exactly what we'll be learning throughout your course. And also some outside courses may seem a bit more difficult than your compulsory courses, and I think that if it would require you to spend more time and actually prevent you from focusing on your compulsory courses as well, it's probably not the best choice to choose an outside subject like that. What I would also advise you is to kind of look for a study buddy. They could be from the same course as you're doing or from different course, but I think it's really nice to have someone to study with, because you can help each other, inspire each other. Just like in my experience, it's a really good thing to have a study buddy. And also feel free to reach out to your personal tutor and to the academic staff. I'm sure they will be more than happy to help. And I hope this little presentation was useful to all of you. And now I'm going to hand over to Leslie for questions.
Super. Thank you all so much for sharing your experiences and insights and tips for our new students. It's really, really interesting. So what we're going to do now is take questions